Hola! Welcome to the Two Amigas in Hollywood podcast. We are Lina Sanchez and Maria Angela Quiroga, and we live in Hollywood. Yes, in Hollywood.
We are entertainment professionals in love with this industry, and we want to share our experience and knowledge,
and that of our guests,
to help you navigate the Hollywood labyrinth.
Hola! Well, welcome to this new episode of the Two Amigas in Hollywood.
Yes.
We are today with Andrés Montero, so thank you so much, Andrés, for being with us today.
So we are very excited to have Andrés here. He is our first musician on the podcast, so yay! So Andrés is a composer, arranger, and orchestrator born in Bogota, Colombia, and currently residing in LA, California. Since 2015, Andrés has been part of the team and joined Kane Music Service, JKMS, which is one of the top music preparation houses in Hollywood. Some of his credits include Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, which, to be honest, in our first episode, we talked we're Star Wars fans, so this is great. His credits also include Mary Poppins Returns, Frozen 2, Toy Story 4, The Simpsons, the Oscars 2020, among others. Outside of JKMS, Andrés has also worked with the orchestrator and composer Tim Davis on the Lego Movie 2, the second part, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, these names, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and the TV series Revenge and Empire. Andrés is the lead orchestrator for the German composer Anne-Kathrin Dern and has collaborated with her on the Netflix films Fearless and the Claus Family 1 and 2. As a composer,
3, actually.
Oh, and 3. Okay. As a composer, Andrés released a new instrumental album called Doorways in 2021, which just pause this episode and go and listen to it because it's great. In this album, he highlights the diverse range of his composing abilities, and the album was recorded in LA, Bogota, Budapest, and New York with over 90 musicians involved, and is available on all streaming services and platforms. So, Andrés, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God, welcome and congratulations. I cannot believe the amount of things that you have done. It's incredible.
Well, thank you, amigas in Hollywood, for this invitation. I was actually on my way here catching up on your podcast, listening to the first couple episodes.
And what do you think?
It's
Only
great.
good
I mean,
things.
really, honest, raw opinions on LA, which is Hollywood. And it's funny because it took you guys were talking about public transportation and traffic and cars, and it took me almost 2 hours to get here.
You survived.
So it is true.
It's hard.
Today traffic was crazy, so thank you so much for taking the time to being here at the studio. Let's start with our. We do have some questions for you.
Okay.
And we have
Ask.
one question that we really want to start with. Is what's your favorite movie?
Wow. I mean, that's one of the hardest questions for anybody, really, because it's just really hard to pick one. And also I think you go through phases, right? Like you have your favorite movie, from 10 years ago, and now you watch a new one. It's like, oh my God, this is so cool.
100%.
So, if we go back into my childhood, I remember the Ace Ventura movies. I thought they were really fun. I love Jim Carrey, like all the movies that he did in the mid 90s, early 2000s. And actually I watched Ace Ventura 2 not long ago, and I was like, with a different view, I was like, well, it's I have a different taste now.
Yep.
100% that could happen.
But I did enjoy those movies. But if we talk about favorite movies, Toy Story is a highlight for me. I watched the first movie in theaters, and I was I was like 7 years old, so it just felt so real for me. Everything, like I remember going home and after the movie, and arranging all my cars and my toys in a certain way. So whenever I went to went to sleep, the next day I would wake up and see if they moved.
Oh, yeah.
So it really shocked you.
Oh
that
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, all the sequels, amazing. Really, really great. So all the Toy Story sequels are great.
Yeah, that's like one of the only franchises that I think it doesn't have a flop.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, they are all great.
Yeah.
I did enjoy a lot the Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy.
Wow.
Oh,
Those
I
are
mean,
one of the
good.
best for sure.
Yeah.
Like The Dark Knight, one
Yeah.
of my favorite movies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And recently I watched the Oppenheimer, which I still have to rewatch it with subtitles.
We went to the movies
Right,
actually.
yes.
I saw it 3 times in the theater. One 70 millimeter, like regular 70 millimeter. The second one we went to the Grove and we actually watched it with on-screen subtitles, which is pretty weird to have it like that in LA. And then I saw it like full IMAX experience, and oh my god,
Yeah, it's a great movie.
it's
a
incredible.
fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. But I do want to mention, I mean, we cannot mention all the movies, but I do want to mention Alejandro Amenabar's movies, which those were movies that I really like them. So the first one I watched was Tesis, which is his first movie. And it was, back in Colombia in the national television. Like what is PBS here? Señal Colombia.
Yeah.
They show that movie in Señal Colombia, and I was blown away with that movie. So I was like, oh, this guy is good. And the second one that he did, Abre los ojos, Open Your Eyes. That kind of thriller, it was just amazing. And then he did The Others with Nicole Kidman. This guy was just like, every movie from him was really amazing. So I mean, those three movies for me were like, they're definitely a highlight. And just I want to mention a last one because we can just talk about we can talk about movies all day,
All the
right?
episode,
Right.
yeah.
Another one that was, I love The Exorcist, but
You do?
oh yes,
Oh my god, I
a
cannot
great
watch
movie.
it.
And I rewatched the last time I rewatched it was actually it was at home like 2 years ago. But before that, there was a special screening at the Academy.
Museum.
It's not the museum because the museum was not there yet, but it was. They have a screening room, like a theater for screenings on Wilshire.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys have been to
No.
that theater, but it's a really, really cool theater. They only use it for events.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was obviously for Halloween, and it was a Q&A with the director and Ellen Burstyn, who's the main
Oh my god.
Wow.
actress. So and it was a restoration of the film. So it was to me so amazing how that film, like, is just still so. It doesn't look old, to be honest. I mean, yeah, some of the effects you can tell, but like it's still like, it's just with the restoration was like, oh my god, it just felt like they made this movie yesterday. Anyways, but After Hours, it's a weird movie from Scorsese, 1985, I think. It's such a bizarre movie. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but but it's so weird, but it's so funny, and kind of it's like a very, at some point gets a little uncomfortable, but like you're like, why are you getting into this trouble? And like, anyways, those are my like movies that I enjoy.
So I can see clearly, like with all the movies that you just mentioned, that all these movies have very unique music, like very, for sure, the experience of watching The Exorcist with the music and the sounds and the sound design that they have that's why this movie gives you like a very terrifying experience, right? So my question is like, what inspired you to become a music composer?
Well, I was studying music since I was 7 years old, so we have to start there, and I did all the theory classes in piano, and kind of growing up, I think around I was in ninth grade. I would say earlier, like I think it was like around eighth grade. Um, I was really interested in filmmaking, and my dad, um, he had a book about filmmaking, and I read the whole, not the whole thing, but like I read a lot of filmmaking, and I learned on my own from this book. I got really interested in filmmaking, and there was an opportunity to do it was like a student, like a film student competition that it was kind of linked with the Bogota Film Festival. And I think that only lasted like 2 years or something. But anyways, it was basically like student films made with, middle school people. So we were kids.
Yeah.
And I applied for that, and I wrote well, it was based on a little book, a little story, but I did the adaptation, and following the book, like I did the whole like storyboard and the script
But
and
how
everything.
old were you?
I was 14, I think.
Really
Super
young.
Yeah, like 13, 14. And I gathered some of my friends, for the actors, and like who's gonna help with the production. And so anyways, it was a great experience because we actually had an empty hospital that was abandoned to shot this, because it was set in a hospital, and I didn't know much about film production like you do, Lina, right? Where everything takes a lot of time, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just to get a minute of footage is like
So
just
much work.
so much work,
So
right?
much work.
And I was thinking before that, I told my parents, like, this happens in a hospital. Maybe we can just go to, whatever hospital we go for our doctor's appointment, and maybe they can give us a room for a couple hours. I mean, it's just a short film. It's like 12 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to be done in half day.
Oh,
No, ignorance is bliss.
surprise.
No way. So anyways, back to it, like basically that's just to reflect my that at that moment I was really into filmmaking, and getting to the time where I had to make a decision about a career. I was in between, like, I really want to be a filmmaker, but I've been studying music since I was 7 years old, and I know both careers are very demanding. And so I thought, like, I just have to focus on one thing. And I had been doing music for longer, so that was just kind of the decision was made right there. And my piano teacher, Mariana Posada, who I think you obviously you
Yeah, she
Maria
was
Angela,
my
you know her.
she was my chamber music piano teacher.
Yeah, so she was my teacher at the conservatory, and she was really pushing me to get into the professional program. So, because I was, doing kind of like the program, which we call it the basic program at the conservatory before you actually do the professional program. So she pushed me, and she said, no, you gotta keep going. You have to present the exam, and now that you finish your school, you have all the knowledge that is fresh, like general knowledge,
Yeah, like the first test you have
math,
to do.
chemistry, blah blah blah. So you have to do the exam right now. You cannot wait any longer. Do the thing, and then that's what I did. So
Wow.
but the funny thing is, like, and I went to the National University, Universidad Nacional, the same as
As me.
Maria Angela.
But we didn't meet we didn't meet there. We met in LA.
Yeah,
I mean,
met in
we
LA.
knew about each other beforehand, of course, um, because we share Mariana as a teacher, and I remember so clearly, like in her studio, she had one wall with like the flyers of like the playbills and flyers of like every single person. So of course I knew about Andres, but he was graduating basically or in the latest semesters when I was coming in to the piano career. So we kind of like we crossed paths, but we weren't like friends over there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, she pushed me and I ended up studying music. But what I was going to say is that when I was applying for the music program, as a second option, I put filmmaking. Because you always can, in case you don't make it to your main career, then you have like a plan B. But the funny thing,
God, that's
I
crazy.
forgot we did that.
but the funny thing is that for both careers, music and filmmaking, there's a supplementary test.
It's not one.
What kind of test?
It's like 3 or 4 extra tests.
What?
For basically all the arts. The only one that was in the arts department that didn't have extra tests was architecture. But all the others, we had to pass the general exam, which was, again, math and just general knowledge. And then 3 specific tests that were like insane.
And I think we mentioned this before because Maria went to this university, but Universidad Nacional is one of the best universities, if not the best, in Colombia. So maybe that's why they they require all these additional tests.
Yeah, they do. So, but the funny thing is, like, even if I didn't get into the music program, I was not able to do the test for filmmaking because they happen on the same day. So it didn't really matter. So anyways, I ended up studying music. It was piano performance and just to become a classical pianist, soloist. And I did things as a pianist. But basically having that kind of love for films since I was,
Since always.
since always. So I always wanted to kind of do something in the middle, music and film. And when I was taking the composition classes at the university, my teacher, Gustavo Parra, he also loved films and film scoring, music for
He's the
films.
best.
Yeah, he's so funny and he's really cool. But yeah, he basically gave us a module of film scoring that was just not part of the program of the composition program at the university, and that was the light for me. That was like the spark that I thought, like, you know what, this is cool. I kind of want to do this, and it's a good marriage between music and film.
And in Colombia, we must say in the U.S. there's quite a few programs for film scoring, but in Colombia, at least at that time that I was doing my BA, there weren't any, like not one, I would say.
Correct. I think now it's becoming more popular as a career, and I think they're doing more things in Colombia for music for films. But yeah, at the time there was really nothing. I mean, I think Javeriana was more had more emphasis into the production side, and like I would say most of the people in Colombia that were already working like in music for films or TV was they were coming from Universidad Javeriana.
Because they do have like sound engineering and all of this.
Yeah, they do have more like production, like music production programs. The Nacional is conservatory. It's like
fully classical.
academia, fully classical. Like, oh my God, you're doing pop music? Get out of here! We don't want you here. Are you doing gigs? Are you going to play?
Yeah, I think Maria has
rock
told me
and
this
pop.
story a
Like,
couple
what are
times.
you doing? I think now it's getting better. I think, but at the
Hopefully.
time,
So no Bad Bunny.
no.
Oh, no.
I mean, no, not. I
No
mean,
Karol G.
honestly, like even jazz sometimes, like it was. I mean, there's a jazz program
No
at the university,
way.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, no, you have to play only Mozart, Beethoven, and Rachmaninoff, and
It was that, or like there was also a little bit of Colombian music, like traditional Colombian music, but it was just like an elective or something.
yeah,
Like-
definitely, that's not the focus of the conservatory. So, so yeah. Anyways, it was kind of like there's nothing like a program for film scoring, and once I finished my degree as a pianist, everyone meaning my teacher Mariana Posada and my family, my friends, they were all like, you should study abroad, you should try to get out of the country and keep studying, but studying piano. And honestly, I kind of felt like I did what I needed to do as a pianist. And I was thinking, if I want to go outside of the country, I have to do something that I cannot do here. Because I mean, yes, you can study abroad piano or any instrument, right? And the level is going to be higher. You're going to probably get more competition, because that's what it really is. Because I mean, honestly, like the education in Colombia is really good. And honestly, like the only thing that is gonna change really if you study abroad is the context, right? You're gonna find more competition, like people that are if we talk in the music business or music field, people that are gonna play better, that have better technique or that kind of stuff. So that kind of pushes you to be better and better and better, right?
Right.
I think that's really the biggest difference, and like maybe why you feel or think that studying abroad is gonna make you better,
100%.
Yeah.
But the education is there, and I think I got a really great education. But anyways, I just didn't want to keep doing piano, especially outside of the country. So I said, I want to do something that I cannot do here, something that is not really a strong industry here. And obviously that was film scoring, writing music for films. So that was when I made the decision, somehow I have to come and do this.
So this was how many years after graduating from the conservatory, and you decided, like, walk us through that process of actually deciding to come to LA to study film scoring, and then what has your life been after it? Which now
Has been great.
after I said like your profile, I mean, you work in the biggest movies, like it's insane. So tell us a little bit about it, and if you can sprinkle a little bit of information on what is the exact job of an orchestrator, a composer. How does it work in the industry? Because I feel that's something not everybody knows, not even the people working in film or in post-production really know that. So I think that's very valuable.
And spoiler alert, he did it. He's doing great.
Yep.
It was 2 years after I graduated from the conservatory that I came to LA. I came to study film scoring at UCLA Extension. They have a program for film scoring, which is a graduate certificate. It's not a master's, but it was just what I needed. I just needed something that was more on the practical side. Like, masters are usually more theory and all that. This program was more like actually do the thing and just learn as you go, right? And then the program is about I did it in a year and a half. Then what most of us that come to study first, and I think you guys did this as well, you go through the OPT process, finding a job, which is that's really the hardest part,
Yeah.
honestly. um and and then I got the opportunity to meet with Tim Davis, who's a big orchestrator in town. He's also a composer, and so, long story short, I ended up working for with him, just substituting his assistant for a week, and so he needed help. So it was like a week of like, go do the work and basically prove myself that I was able to do this job. And and even though, like, I know the first project that I worked, with him, that was proper, like a big project, was actually a video game. It was one of the Batman Arkham Knight. So it's a big video game. And after that was the Book of Life, that Tim Davis was doing arrangements on the score. So I worked with the orchestrator, Jeremy, um, proofreading the scores, and so that kind of, I started kind of getting my feet in the industry. And then after that, I ended up working at Joint Kid Music Service, which is where I'm working right now. So I've been working there since 2016.
A long time already.
It's been a great experience, and that's where I've been getting my credits. Like, you see the names, and we just, at the company. I mean, the company has been around for quite some time, so it has a reputation, and we get to work on the big studio films. And it's funny because at the very beginning, usually, like, when we started working on stuff, sometimes we work under the code names. Like, for people that are not very familiar, it's like they try to give a code name to productions, so they try to keep it as confidential as possible, right? And even for other reasons, but I think that's the main reason, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes,
security purposes, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so sometimes we work on stuff and, like, what is this? I don't know what this is, right? And sometimes I have to Google it and see what it is, and then, or sometimes I see the poster and, like, oh yeah, I work on that, but it was like 8 months ago or something.
And sometimes they use like really randomly names. Like when I worked for Narcos, I think the project title name was like Sunflower.
So beautiful.
Well, very different from what it's actually about.
But yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so you've been at this company for a long time working as an orchestrator and arranging, right?
Not really, actually. So,
Sorry.
well, this is where things get a little complicated and a little technical. So at the company, the company is a music preparation company. So basically, what we do is the sheet music for the orchestra to record the music. So we work with composers and orchestrators, and so we get all the parts ready for the players, right? So there's a lot of, like, mini jobs, in between, right? So I mean, when I started taping parts, really, on printing and taping parts, and making sure that all the books before the recording session are organized, that that they have all the music. So that's how I started, but then I moved up to actually make the sheet music, right? Or edit, let's say, more like editing the sheet music. And then there's other mini jobs where, like, it really depends on the project, depends on the client, where we get files from the composer, and then we help the composer's team and the orchestration team to transfer the demos, because nowadays the composers write the music basically into the computer, and they produce a demo with digital sounds, with samples. We call them samples, which is, those are samples of real instruments, but they're digital, right? So they're computer sounds. to make it sound as real as possible, so the director or the producer can listen to the music beforehand and they can approve the music right before it gets recorded. I mean, back in the day, composers used to write music with pencil and paper, like the
Yeah.
old days, right? But nowadays it's just computer. So to get a demo recorded with an orchestra, you need to translate that digital demo into actual music. Let's say music in terms of paper or of notation, to put it on paper so people
Yeah.
can actually read the music and play the music.
Yeah.
So basically at the company, we kind of, we help with all that process. So
Which
Oh,
is
wow.
insane. That's
I
super
didn't know
time
this.
consuming. Yeah, this is what I wanted to bring Andres, because this is like a job that like no one knows about.
and even for musicians, I would say, let's say you're in a symphony, right? I mean, you play a symphony, whatever. You get the music, the sheet music in front of you, and you play it, you read it, right? And even you don't think the work behind it, the amount of time that you have to spend just to create a single piece of sheet music, right? So people can read it, which is, one of the things that it's very important in our job is clarity, because recording sessions are very expensive. You're hiring, let's say 60, 100 piece orchestra. Then, you have to hire engineers. Then you have to book the stage, which, I mean, you say you work at Fox. They have such a beautiful scoring stage, and, has such a history. And everything is expensive, right? So a minute in the studio is gold, right? So it's something.
Time is money.
And time is money. So our job, it's kind of silent, because nobody really notice it. Like the musicians show up, they see the music, they read it, they play it, they perform it, they record it, right? But what is really important is to make sure the music is very clear, that has no mistakes, and that the players can actually read it.
Yeah, because to that point, you correct me if I'm wrong. The recording musicians arrive to the studio, stage, wherever they're recording, and that's the first time they're reading that music. So their side reading, that's how it's called
Yeah.
in English.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a skill that is extremely difficult. This is why these musicians that you hear on your movies are insanely talented. I want to say probably just like 1 or 2% they send the score before, just if there's like a really, really hard part. But I want to say most of it, the musicians read it at the recording session. So it's incredibly important, and these parts are, as you say, super clear, perfect, so they can do their job and not waste any time, because again, time is money.
So they go to the studio and they, like, I don't know, someone like you gave them, like, what's it called? Like the music sheet that you mentioned?
We call it the music, but it is sheet music, I think, is the technical the technical word.
And they just, like, start playing right away.
Yeah,
after
right
that.
away. So they like Maria Angela said, they sight read the music. It's the first time they see the music.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which, like if you think about in symphonies, for example, they have rehearsal, before a concert on a Saturday, let's say, they have rehearsals the
That
week
week.
before. So they have a chance to see the music beforehand. Also, they're playing music from 100, 200 years ago. So they probably already know it.
Yeah.
And they still rehearse the music, right?
Because conductor, they arrive with like different tempos, different dynamics they wanna do, and like different things they wanna get out of the music, and different feelings and all of this. So that's why one of the reasons why they rehearse.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, in film music, there's no rehearsal. I mean, it's like the rehearsal is the recording, really. Like it just happens right away. Which honestly, like when I learned about this, was kind of crazy, because when you listen to John Williams, we know, which is a legend, and he wrote all the music for Star Wars and E.T. and Superman. They're very complex scores, and it's very complicated music. And to know that these people show up to the stage, reading this for the first time is really impressive. But behind it is, obviously it's a combination of everything. Obviously the skill of the musician, but also to make sure, again, like the sheet music is legible. And if we go, one step further, which the other kind of job I do, is the orchestration, right? So, and like I said, at JKMS, I started, taping parts. Then we call it copyists. This is kind of like the actual job. Copyist is the person who make an individual piece of sheet music. Make sure I pronounce that correctly. But then there's another job, which is the orchestration, which in a way, and even for the musicians, it can be a little confusing. So, because I remember when I was learning composition, there's a different class called orchestration, but they kind of both go together. And especially if you're a composer for the academy or for the concert music, right? You want to be Mozart, let's say, right? So basically you write the music and you're the orchestrator, which means you write the melody, right? The chords and whatever, and then you make decisions on, if you're working with an orchestra, you make decisions on which instrument plays what. That's basically what orchestration is, right? And to make sure, everything is balanced, that everything sounds good, you have to know about each instrument. You don't have to play all the instruments, but you have to know how they function, what are the limitations, the colors, what they can do best, what they cannot do.
How they mix together. Like if you, let's say, like an oboe mixes really well with the violin, and usually they're like the same melody sometimes. So you have to know these things to kind of orchestrate things really well. Wow. Or if you want something very contrasty or very punchy, you put some like horns in there and you're like, that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is blowing my mind.
We need to do like 2 episodes.
Like 4 episodes with Andrés.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing. We haven't even spoken about like how the actual, how I want to say it, the actual money and payment and everything works in the music industry within the film. Like, don't worry, we're not gonna give us your pay stubs or anything. No,
yeah.
but that's like a whole different conversation. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Everything.
It is.
It's a lot. Okay, so yeah, this is not even the whole conversation. There's so much information that Andrés can bring to us. I know because we have talked about this multiple evenings at your place.
Yeah.
And then it's like 11 o'clock and we're like, okay, goodbye. This is it. So before we go, we just wanted to tell our audience we're definitely going to have him back for a second episode. Please know this is not the only episode. Andrés is going to be here. But yeah, we want to ask you one last question before we wrap up for today. Lina, what's the question?
So, do you have any tips and tricks for anyone that is interested in being a music composer and, how to get there, how to be as successful as you are? And yeah, what they need, tips and tricks or anything that you want to share with us and with the audience.
It's a tricky question.
And you need to answer now.
I think the tricky part, because it is very tricky, is that every path is different. So,
yes.
I find it really hard to say, tips and tricks like, oh, you do this, and then you'll make it. And even sometimes you still have so much room for improvement, and you want to keep growing and growing. Definitely, I would say that being prepared is just something that you have to have. Like we were talking about, moving to a different country, it's about what really makes you better is the competition, is the context, So the more prepared you are, the better. And here's the thing, like sometimes there's so much to learn and we don't have the time to learn every single thing about everything. And it doesn't matter if let's say you arrive to LA and you don't know everything, but you have to know that you have to make the effort to try and learn more things each day. And also to keep up with technology, because you guys were talking in other episodes about like how this industry is so technology driven, and like the technology changes all the time, and you have to kind of go with it. So that's also part of the learning process, just to kind of keep up with the technology and just learning as much as you want. And I mean, and if you're coming from a different country, English, I mean, it sounds
Basic.
so basic, but it's so important. And I'll tell you why. Because you come here, and if you want to get to work, what people call networking, which a friend of mine told me once that you have to see networking as just making friends.
Correct.
Because and this is kind of quoting one of my teachers at UCLA, friends hide friends. That's really how it works. So, being prepared, know English very well, because you have to come here and then talk to people. Communicate, talk to total strangers. And then, just get the opportunity when it comes, and do the networking that people talk about. But, really networking is just make friends. Really, the friends hide friends is pretty common, really, in any industry. Like I was, when people ask me this kind of question, I said, it's like when I was back in Colombia playing gigs like weddings and stuff, and like somebody calls me and I'm the pianist, and like, oh, can I have a violinist, or can I have a cello? Like, who am I gonna call?
Yeah. The teacher?
Not Ghostbusters,
No. Yeah.
but my friends, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, at some point, like, yes, we are young. Yes, we are, like, I want to say, like, mid-career, let's say, or even a little bit less, even though we all have done so many things in our young age, I want to say. Eventually, we're going to be the old ones in the industry.
Yep.
So... And I think we have talked about this. You never know when the work is going to come from. You never know it.
The opportunity,
Yeah. I think we were talking about this last week, Andres. Like, you recently got a job because someone saw a YouTube video of you, and then you got a great job that you're working on now. So
yeah. So it's like I said, I would say really be prepared, communicate well, and just be friends with a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true.
So with that, we're gonna leave you guys. Please make sure to subscribe, follow us, do all the social media and everything that you need to have ready on your phones and your computer, so you know when we're dropping the second episode with Andres, because there's so much to say.
I know there is so much to say, but also we have to mention episode 1 and episode 2 is available now on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and YouTube. So please, if you want to, check out our podcast, you can go there.
Episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, because this is number 5.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, available now. And please follow us in our social media at the Two Amigas in Hollywood for TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, thank you again for your time, and thank you for surviving LA traffic.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. And yes, drop all the comments. And if you're not in LA and if you come to LA, call us and we'll chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andres, for this opportunity to talk with you. And I'm super proud and happy to know all the great things that you have done in your career, and super proud of having a fellow Colombian with us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cue the music.
Thanks for listening to the Two Amigos in Hollywood podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, where you can find Spanish subtitled episodes. You can also check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Special thanks to Justin Potter for general tech support and translations, Paula Fajardo for cover art design, Daniel Gonzalez for the original music, as well as trailer sound design and editing, and Juliana Henao for audio consulting. See you on the next one.